Emily's living room was filled with tense whispers and uncomfortable glances. Jessica, Emily's cousin from Aunt Margaret's side, made her entrance with a knowing look.
Emily, did Mom tell you that Michael moved out because of a woman?
Jessica, I'm not blaming you, but if you had let him drive your relatives home, the accident wouldn't have happened.
Emily had heard this too many times. It was exhausting. Both Linda and Robert had advised her to focus on the baby she was carrying and not let minor issues cause major problems. After the accident, David didn't remember Emily. He insisted his girlfriend was Samantha, leaving Emily feeling like an outsider in her own home. Today was Robert's birthday, and everyone was coming over. Emily, as the daughter-in-law, had to face the gossip. She forced a smile and excused herself to the bathroom. The face in the mirror was pale, dark circles under her eyes. She applied layers of concealer to hide it. When she came out, David had brought Samantha home. Emily sat on the nearest sofa, trying to suppress her emotions.
Emily, you really can hold your ground. He's brought her home.
We haven't even divorced yet, and you're already flaunting her around. Are you afraid people won't know she's the other woman?
Ms. White, the divorce papers have been sent to you. Once you sign them, we can proceed with the formalities.
The room fell silent, relatives gasping at David's words.
Why should I?
Anna, I still have to thank you. If it weren't for you, I wouldn't be with David. Now that he doesn't remember you, just sign the divorce papers. He said you can keep the house you bought when you got married. It's a good fallback for you. Why keep dragging this out, right?
I'm sorry, I really don't remember you. I'll try to compensate you as much as I can.
I'm still carrying your child.
You are the child's mother. You can decide what to do.
The relatives whispered among themselves. Robert quickly intervened.
Dinner is about to start. Everyone, please take your seats.
Emily watched them take their seats. She didn't want to join, but Jessica pulled her hand.
Emily, come on. For the baby's sake, you need to eat something. Look at all the delicious food Aunt Margaret made today.
Emily sat directly opposite David, staring blankly at him and Samantha. David frowned, whispering something to Samantha, who looked up at Emily and smiled faintly.
Thank you all for coming. A lot has happened recently, and I apologize for any inconvenience. Let me toast to everyone first.
Seeing David take a sip, Emily grabbed the glass in front of Jessica and downed it in one gulp. The burning sensation instantly invaded her stomach, making her feel nauseous. She looked at David, hoping to see concern, but there was none.
You shouldn't drink, given your health. I'll drink for you. Everyone, I'll drink Samantha's share on her behalf. He raised his glass again and drank it all.
David, you only drank for the new sister-in-law? That's not right.
If you can't speak properly, then don't. No one will think you're mute.
Emily found it amusing and stood up to pour herself another drink. Jessica quickly grabbed the glass.
Emily, you're still pregnant. Don't do this.
Seeing Emily trying to grab it back, Jessica shouted towards the kitchen.
Aunt Margaret, come quickly. Talk to Emily.
Linda came out wearing an apron, furious.
Can you stop making a scene? I'm begging you.
Can't you just calm down? Things were just starting to get better. And now you're making everyone unhappy again.
Emily felt the pain in her stomach intensify. She ran to the bathroom, vomiting violently. The sound of knocking and Linda's anxious voice came from the bathroom door. After a long bout of vomiting, she collapsed on the floor. Grabbing the door handle, she struggled to stand up, washing her face in the sink. Covered in sticky sweat, she opened the bathroom door. The cold air from the low air conditioning gave her goosebumps. Aunt Margaret's and Uncle John's families had already left, leaving just her family at the table, and of course, Samantha.
Do you need help?
Emily ignored her and walked towards the bedroom. She was too tired. David also came over.
Michael, look at her. She looks so unwell. After all, she's carrying your child. Shouldn't we take her to the hospital?
I'll call an ambulance for her. You should put on more clothes, or you'll catch a cold.
Save the ambulance for yourselves. You both need treatment.
Emily quickly walked to the bedroom and slammed the door shut. I changed into dry clothes, but the sticky feeling wouldn't go away. I pressed my ear against the door, trying to hear if David and Samantha had left. After a long while, there was no sound. I grabbed a towel, opened the door, glanced around, and seeing no one, quickly went to the bathroom to take a shower. When I came out, Linda was sitting on the sofa with a gloomy face.
Sarah, do you know you're pregnant? And you're still drinking.
Facing her questioning, my head hurt. I pinched my brow.
You should just stay home and take care of the baby. Once it's born, Robert and I will raise it. It won't be a burden to you.
I endured the stomach pain, trying to ignore her yelling, and walked to the tea bar to pour a glass of water. Drinking some warm water slightly eased the pain in my stomach.
Mom, why do you always blame me? Why don't you control David? He brings women home so openly. What am I supposed to do?
I sneered.
Mom, I'm sorry, but since David doesn't want this child, I'm going to terminate the pregnancy.
A crisp slap landed on my face.
I don't want to hear you say that. You've caused David so much pain. Grandma had a heart attack because of this and is still in the ICU. Why can't you consider our family's feelings?
I looked at Linda's bloodshot eyes, her chest heaving violently, and noticed the many white hairs that had quietly appeared around her ears. She used to be extremely meticulous about her appearance, looking like she was in her 30s even though she was over 50. When had I ever seen white hair on her head? I reached out to touch her white hair, but she slapped my hand away.
I told David from the beginning that he shouldn't marry you, but he wouldn't listen. You're a jinx, Sarah. You're a jinx.
She started crying as she spoke. I could see the hatred in her eyes. She took off her apron and placed it on the coffee table, crying as she returned to her bedroom. But we already have a marriage certificate. As long as I don't agree, there's no way to divorce. How could he not recognize me? I was once the apple of his eye. The wedding scene and his vows were still vivid in my mind. He wore a suit, looking sunny and handsome, his hand holding the microphone trembling slightly.
Anna, marry me. From now on, I'll be your support. I'll make you happy and joyful, and I'll never let you be wronged.
I smiled through my tears, nodding vigorously, watching him put the wedding ring on my finger. He embraced me, kissing me, as friends and family showered us with blessings. It all happened so recently. In the second month after our wedding, I found out I was pregnant and had severe morning sickness. My father's brother was getting married, and I didn't want to go, but my father said they had helped a lot with our wedding, so we should make an appearance. David drove me back to my hometown, and everything was fine. After dinner, we planned to leave. My father came over and said,
Helen has trouble walking. If she takes the bus, there's still a long way to go on foot. Can you ask David to give her a ride?
Seeing Helen's pleading eyes, I couldn't refuse. I walked to the car and told David to take Helen first and then come back to pick me up. I was very tired and told my father I would take a nap and to wake me when David returned. I felt like I had slept for a long time. When I checked my phone, an hour had passed. It should have only taken half an hour. I was about to call when Linda's call came in.
Sarah, if my son doesn't make it, I'll hate you forever.
David had been in a car accident. My father took me to the hospital. Robert and Linda had already arrived. Robert's face was dark when he saw me. Linda rushed over and slapped me hard, crying.
Give me back my son. Why did you make him go? Why?
I numbly stared at the iron door in front of me. David was inside, being resuscitated. Linda was hysterical, and Robert scolded her a few times, but he was also silently crying in the corner. The police said my husband had swerved to avoid a large pothole on the road and ended up in the opposite lane. A bus coming from the other direction was going too fast and didn't see his car in time. Unable to brake, David had turned the steering wheel sharply to avoid a head-on collision, but the car's front was severely damaged. When the ambulance arrived, shards of the windshield were still embedded in his head, and he had multiple fractures. I knelt on the ground, praying over and over again. I just wanted David to survive. The night was endlessly long. After several critical condition notices, Linda had fainted from exhaustion. Robert told me to rest and not cause more trouble, but how could I leave? My husband was still inside. I just wanted him to be safe, no matter the cost. Finally, the gods heard my prayers. He survived. When he woke up, he remembered everyone except me.
Miss Sarah, I have a girlfriend. Her name is Samantha.
He looked at me with great resistance, then turned to Linda.
Mom, she might be a fraud. Don't be fooled. Please ask her to leave.
I hurriedly explained and even showed him our wedding ring.
No, I don't remember you. Please leave.
I asked the doctor, and the doctor said this was a common occurrence after trauma. He might remember soon, or he might never remember. How could that be? I am his wife, and I'm carrying our baby. How could he forget me? I went to the hospital for several days but couldn't get into the room. Instead, I saw his old flame, Samantha, chatting happily with him in the room. I was furious and wanted to confront him, but Linda pulled me aside.
As long as he gets better, just let Samantha stay with him for now. Please, just don't come to the hospital for a while.
Such earnest advice, as if we were still in feudal times, where the other woman could get support. When they weren't around, I went to the hospital room. I looked at David, who was lying on the bed. His sleepy eyes met mine. Sunlight shone through the window onto his eyes. For a moment, I thought my David had returned.
Miss Sarah, I told you I don't know you.
His words pulled me back to reality. Choking back tears, I told him about our past, but he frowned and turned his face away, not wanting to look at me.
Samantha will be here soon. When are you leaving?
I was speechless. My husband was asking me to leave for another woman. I found Samantha.
Do you know that David has a wife?
Michael said he doesn't know you. He will divorce you soon.
Then you're still the other woman.
We are connected in spirit. In love, the one who isn't loved is the other woman. This time, I won't let go.
Pulled back from my memories, I returned to the room, packed a few things, and left Linda's house for our marital home. Since David's accident, I hadn't been back. I needed to guard it, to prevent David from bringing another woman there. It was our home, and I wouldn't allow it. Opening the door, I saw dust everywhere, indicating it hadn't been lived in for a long time. That was good. I looked around and saw the divorce agreement on the coffee table. I read it twice. The formal language couldn't hide his eagerness to divorce. I held back for nearly an hour, then took out my phone and sent him a message, asking him to come to the marital home alone to discuss the divorce. Pregnant women tend to get sleepy. I lay on the sofa and fell asleep. When I woke up, David was already sitting at the dining table. Seeing me awake, he got up and walked over.
This house is yours. Consider it my compensation. I can't remember much else. If there's anything you want to say, I'll try to accommodate you.
I thought my tears had dried up, but seeing the man I once loved saying these things, I couldn't stop the tears from falling.
I was wrong. I won't make you do those things again. Please don't leave me.
I hugged him, letting my tears and snot stain his fine suit. He pinched his brow.
Sorry, Miss Sarah. I might have liked you before, but now I don't want to be with you. It wouldn't be fair to Samantha.
And is it fair to me? I am your wife, your legal wife.
He pulled his arm out of my embrace, apologized, and left. I called Linda, crying.
My son still has countless steel pins in his body. Can you let him go? Take good care of yourself. Come back here, so you don't have to worry all the time.
She was always on her son's side. How could she treat me like this? I stubbornly stayed there for a few days. The irregular schedule and eating habits made my stomach start to ache. On the weekend, I dragged my tired body and luggage to Linda's house. I had thought it over. The child was the most important thing now. It was my only connection to David. But as I reached the door, I heard David and Samantha talking inside. I hesitated, unsure whether to enter.
Sarah? Why aren't you going in?
Robert came out of the elevator with 2 large bags of groceries and gestured for me to open the door. I took out my key and opened the door under Robert's watchful eye. Samantha said something that made David and Linda laugh heartily. When they saw me, they all fell silent. I awkwardly greeted Linda, not wanting to acknowledge the other two. How could they be so brazen, coming into the house and laughing so happily?
Sarah, you're here?
Mom, I've thought it over. I want to have the baby. After all, he is the legitimate grandson of the Qin family.
After saying that, I stared at the two on the sofa. Samantha's face turned pale.
Auntie, since Sarah is here, I should go.
Mom, Samantha is also expecting.
Hearing this, I felt a rush of blood to my head and slapped Samantha.
You shameless woman, how dare you?
David immediately pulled Samantha behind him.
If you want to hit someone, hit me. When will you sign the divorce agreement? Samantha's baby can't wait. I promised her a wedding.
Linda looked at us, at a loss, and slapped her thigh.
What a mess, what a mess.
The mess was caused by your family.
David, don't even think about it. As long as I don't agree to the divorce, she will always be the other woman. Her child will always be illegitimate. I'll make sure you can never hold your heads high.
Under my gaze, David took Samantha and left. I collapsed on the sofa, crying uncontrollably. Tom, the store manager, called to say that Richard from the project we've been following for a long time wanted to meet. With David not around, some decisions needed my approval as the legal representative. I hadn't been to the store in a long time. The decoration company that David and I used to run had seen little of me since I got pregnant. I informed Linda and then took a cab to the company.
Sarah, we need to discuss the project's progress. There are some unresolved issues.
Why is Richard so hard to deal with? We've already offered the lowest price.
Richard is still not budging. I'm not sure if it's about the price or something else. But giving up would mean all our initial investment would go to waste.
David had always handled external business negotiations. At such a critical moment, he had disappeared. All for a mistress, abandoning the company that everyone had worked so hard to build. I sat in David's office and turned on the computer, only to see our wedding photo as the screensaver. How ironic. I immediately changed it. Tom had already sent me the company's costs and budget, which I carefully reviewed. As the meeting time with Richard approached, I sent David another message, but his phone remained unreachable. I called Tom, and we decided to go without David. If not for the sake of the people who had worked so hard for the company, who would care about David's mess?
I'm out of cigarettes. Lisa, go buy a pack.
Watching Richard's secretary leave, I immediately signaled Tom with my eyes, and he quickly followed her out. I texted him.
Buy the most expensive pack, get a whole carton.
In the private room, only Richard and I remained. Suddenly, his hand touched my leg. I stood up immediately, looking at him in shock. His eyes were full of lewdness.
Sarah, it looks like your pregnancy is stable. I've never experienced what it's like with a pregnant woman.
He stood up and grabbed me. I tried to push him away, but his strength was too much for me. I struggled and kneed him in a sensitive area, causing him to release me in pain. I picked up a glass of water from the table and splashed it in his face.
I'm a pregnant woman, and you still act like this? You beast, are you even human?
I kicked him hard again and spat at him.
Disgusting.
As I walked out, I saw Tom and Lisa had returned.
Sarah, are you okay? What happened?
Keep your boss in check. I will definitely report this incident to the police.
Tom drove us back, hesitating to speak several times. I didn't want to talk. When we got back to the company, I locked myself in the office. David entered at some point, and I didn't even notice.
We've been working on this deal with Richard for over half a year, and you just kicked away all the hard work everyone put in.
David, where were you when he was harassing me? What's the point of saying this now?
A few touches could secure a project. I don't see any loss in that.
Do you know Tom's mortgage is overdue? Do you know Catherine's son can't afford school fees? Do you know Eric's father is sick and can't afford treatment?
If we secure this deal, all our problems would be solved. You've ruined everything.
Maybe it was the frequent stress lately, but I felt a sharp pain in my abdomen and couldn't help but clutch my stomach.
David, you weren't like this before. David, my stomach hurts.
He stood up and walked towards me, picking up my curled-up body. I looked at him in surprise. The familiar face, the familiar scent, tears streamed down my face uncontrollably.
Michael? Do you remember everything now?
Anna, are you okay?
My joy outweighed my excitement, but after he spoke, he harshly pushed me away. I didn't have time to scream before I fell to the ground, seeing the blood flowing out, and passed out. When I woke up again, I was lying in a hospital bed. Linda was sitting by the bed, looking at her phone. Seeing me awake, she walked over and touched my head.
You were too careless. Now you need to stay in the hospital and take good care of yourself. Don't go out alone next time, it's too dangerous.
I touched my lower abdomen. Baby, you are so strong. I told Linda about David pushing me. Her face turned pale. After a long pause, she finally spoke.
Anna, let it go. Let Michael go, and let yourself go too, okay?
Mom, I can't accept it. Why can they be together? He doesn't care about this child at all for the sake of another. How heartbroken must this child be?
Don't say that. He loves the child. When the baby is born, he will have grandparents and you, his mother, to love him. Don't say such things, the baby won't be happy hearing them.
I knew saying more was useless. Linda would always stand by her son's side. After all, they were blood relatives. I curled up and hid under the blanket, closing my eyes to avoid looking at her. My Michael wasn't like this. Seeing me come out of the bathroom, Samantha approached the door and extended her hand to help.
Do you need help?
I ignored her, bypassed her hand, and walked toward the bedroom, feeling utterly exhausted. Unexpectedly, David also came over. Samantha turned and took David's arm, smiling gently.
Michael, look at her. She looks so unwell. After all, she's carrying your child. Shouldn't we take her to the hospital?
I'll call an ambulance for her. You should put on more clothes, or you'll catch a cold.
To hell with it. What a show of affection.
Save the ambulance for yourselves. You both need treatment.
I quickly walked to the bedroom and slammed the door shut, making a loud noise to express my dissatisfaction. Sunday arrived, and I got up early to get ready. I wanted to go. I wanted to see how much David could love Samantha now. He could discard me like an old rag. How long could his affection last? I wore a sparkling long dress, with my protruding belly clearly showing the mark of David's existence. As soon as I stepped out, Linda and Robert were waiting downstairs.
Anna, please don't make a scene, okay?
Mom, I just want to go and see. I won't ruin their wedding. You don't need to worry.
Even Robert came over to block me.
Sarah, we've always treated you like our daughter. Don't live in the past. We feel for you too.
I didn't want to listen. I just wanted to see if my David could really leave me and marry another woman. They kept blocking my way, not letting me out. I lifted my dress and turned to step onto the grass beside me, running towards the community gate. I saw the ride-hailing car I had booked waiting there, just a step away, but my arm was grabbed. Robert's strong grip almost made me fall, and Linda also ran over to hold me.
Anna, please don't do this.
I cried and begged them. I really wanted to see, to give up completely. Finally, Robert stood up.
All right, I'll take you to see.
At the Liangjiang Holiday Hotel, the wedding poster of David and Samantha at the entrance was more dazzling than the sunlight.
Are you sure you still want to go in?
I nodded and walked in with determined steps, pushing open the doors of the banquet hall. There was nothing inside. No wedding, no David, no Samantha, no friends or family.
Where are they?
Linda came up and hugged me.
Anna, David is gone. He passed away 2 months ago. Please stop torturing yourself.
I looked at Linda, whose hair had already turned gray at the temples, and stared at her in confusion.
Impossible. I saw them just a few days ago. David is going to marry Samantha. He doesn't want me anymore. He's going to marry another woman.
Sarah, there has never been a Samantha. David passed away that night. Please stop deceiving yourself.
No, you're lying to me. David is alive and well. You're lying to me. I don't believe it. I don't believe it. Aw.
I pushed them away, shouting David's name room by room, but no one responded. The hotel security came to stop me.
Ma'am, please leave. Ma'am, I checked the recent bookings. There are no reservations for David and Samantha. Please don't disturb other guests.
Robert and Linda came to stop me.
Anna, take care of yourself. Look at you. You haven't been eating or sleeping well these past few months. Think about the baby. That's David's only child. You want him too.
Linda couldn't continue and started sobbing loudly. I didn't believe it. Before I fainted, I couldn't see their faces. I only saw David coming to take me away. Seeing me come out, Samantha walked to the bathroom door and extended her hand to help me. Do you need help?
Do you need help?
I ignored her, bypassed her hand, and walked towards the bedroom. I was too tired. Unexpectedly, David also came over. Samantha turned and took David's arm, smiling gently.
Michael, look at her. She looks so unwell. After all, she's carrying your child. Shouldn't we take her to the hospital?
I'll call an ambulance for her. You should put on more clothes, or you'll catch a cold.
To hell with it. What a show of affection.
Save the ambulance for yourselves. You both need treatment.
I quickly walked to the bedroom and slammed the door shut, making a loud noise to express my dissatisfaction. Seeing me come out, Samantha walked to the bathroom door and extended her hand to help me.
Do you need help?
I ignored her, bypassed her hand, and walked towards the bedroom, feeling utterly exhausted. Unexpectedly, David also approached. Samantha turned and took David's arm, smiling gently.
Michael, look at her. She looks so unwell. After all, she's carrying your child. Shouldn't we take her to the hospital?
I'll call an ambulance for her. You should put on more clothes, or you'll catch a cold.
To hell with it. What a show of affection.
Save the ambulance for yourselves. You both need treatment.
I quickly walked to the bedroom and slammed the door shut, making a loud noise to express my dissatisfaction. White Tower Cemetery. Evelyn held 2 bouquets of chrysanthemums.
David, you and Anna must take care of each other over there. Your father and I are doing fine, so don't worry about us. Anna, we don't blame you. If only I had arrived at the hospital a bit earlier that day.